Hey guys, this is Zero Cat here, bringing you another Magic Deck Tech Pioneer video. Today I'll be talking about Rakdos Discard. This deck is pretty fun. I'm a big fan of Rakdos decks just in general, or mostly anything with black mana in it. I'm all for it. And I definitely like the Discard archetype. It's really fun, really cool, and also makes people limited on the resources to cast and play cards. So hey, all more for it. And as always, guys, quick message. If you like this video, please give it a like. Also, please think about subscribing to my YouTube channel. I mostly upload Pioneer content like this, tech techs, and versus videos. Come check out my channel for more of this playthrough as well for this deck. And let's get into it. So this deck, I think just the beginning before I really talk about cards. This deck is, I think, okay. The meta is not that. It depends on, but in the current meta where it's just Arc-like Phoenixes everywhere, this deck is okay. It's not great, but it's not like that bad either. And I'll talk about it a little bit when I talk about the cards. So let's quickly go over the lands. There's 25 lands in this deck, which I think is a little high, to be completely honest. I think it should be a little bit less, maybe 24, maybe the golden number here. It has the right number of dual land. Actually, it has less dual lands than I think. Holy cow! It just has the blood crypts and the pathways. The castle locked will, of course, for the extra draw. Fabled Passage is also really good. Then it has the Greer Sanatorium, and as well as Hive of the Eye Tyrant, and then it has basic lands, Urborg, and the Triome, which feels like it's a little hit or miss there. It feels like it could have just been like a Blood Crypt or something, but I can understand why it's there. Just for the additional draw with this deck that it might need, I think it's probably why it's in there, for just one more additional way to go draw some more cards for the cycling effect. Then it goes. Let's go to the spells. You have Blood Chief's Thirst, Fatal Push, 3 Fatal Pushes, the Thoughtseize package, of course, because you're playing discard. Then you have Waste Not, which is really awesome. It's a hit or miss with this deck in the sense that it takes a while for it to set up. But when especially when you see those hands where you have 2 Waste Not, you waste like your first 3 turns casting both of them, and if you're lucky, you're able to have a Thoughtseize on your turn 3 land. So you might be able to get value with that Waste Not, and probably get some blockers or draw some more cards or whatnot. So this card's very good. Yeah, it's for the value that it provides. It just takes a little bit of setup. Some more removal with Dreadbores. Then of course you have Kuroxa. The player set of Kuroxas. Why not? Of course. Then you have Gold Blanks, of course, which feels like it's a very powerful card in this current meta. It does 2 things that you wanted to do. It discards and removes graveyards. I think it's been seen a lot of play for black decks. I think just adding it in the main deck now, just because the amount of Arc-like Phoenix is running around. Then you have a Graveyard Trespasser, which I think is an all-star in the new set. It's a twofer in a sense that it has the ward with the discard mechanic on it. So it triggers Waste Not, as well as removing key annoying cards in people's graveyards, because it feels like Graveyard is very strong right now. Mechanics in the deck. Then another removal with Murderous Rider, more removal and discard with Kolaghan's Command, and then you have 4 copies of Bloodveil Purifier. And in the beginning, I'm not a fan of this card, but if you look on the upside of what this card can provide, it is a 5/6 flying trample, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player may create a blood token, and with the blood token, it forces them to discard a card, which could activate your Waste Nots and whatnot. But at the same time, they're also gaining a card, so it's a little hit or miss with there. Also, in the same sense that if your opponent doesn't use the blood tokens or doesn't want to use it because of the value that you may get providing with Waste Nots, it gets +1/+0 for each blood token defending player controls. So there it is. Take it what it is. Hit or miss. It feels like 90% of the time I did take it out, but yeah. Then you have 1 copy of Liliana, Awaker of the Dead, which feels like it should be like at least 1 more because of what this card does and what the deck is. This card's really fun. I definitely like it. And then you have 2 Hazarets, which I think is a fair example of what this deck is, because you do run the cards fast. In the rare instance that you don't, because you're drawing so much Waste Not, which is unlikely, then this Hazard's probably not gonna be doing much. But then again, you also can discard a card to deal 2 damage, so I think it'll be attacking most of the time. Half the time, it feels like I never got to the point where Hazaret or Bloodveil Purifier was winning me the games. It was mostly through just massive disadvantage for my opponent and not having any cards to play, and just seeing that the overwhelming advantage that Waste Not was providing me, and people were just giving up. And lastly, let's talk about the sideboard here. I'm gonna move my thing a little bit just so you guys can see all the cards. You have more. You have two more. You have more hand disruption with two duresses. Another kind of waste knot with streaking affliction where they lose 3 life. One collector brutality, which feels like it should be a little bit more. Or more discard as well as removal and gaining life. Parasitic grasp, which is, it's fine. I understand why it's there. Just for like the aggro decks, to gain 3 damage and then you gain 3 life, which is solid. It just costs a little bit more because of the cleave effect, or for 2 mana, it's just fine. Necromantia for those combo decks, so you can get them all out. Path of Peril for more board wipe. Oh shoot, that's fine. I'll put it back. Kalitas, 2 Kalitas for why not? Because Kalitas is amazing. Rending Volley for spirits, and an additional Sideboard for that graveyard hate. Oh, not graveyard hate. For more general move against mid-range decks. The one thing that this deck does not really have that I talked about is graveyard hate, but then again, I guess it doesn't really need it with the 4 copies of Go Blanks as well as Graveyard Trespasser to get any kind of cards that you think that your opponent might have in terms of comboing out there. So let me quickly talk about the matchup. I think matchup is fine against most decks. If you get there and you get to combo off, it's really good. The one instance is what the meta is right now, which is mostly Arc-like Phoenix. So when you push in for him to discard cards, you might intend to kind of help him out there. So you kind of have to sequence your turns a little bit in terms of you having to play one spell, like maybe like a Thoughtseize to get that thing out of his hand, and then possibly having a Go Blank so that you can get rid of that card right away. I think that's how you kind of want to sequence your turns. Is you kind of want to have to give him an opportunity to be able to combo off with his Arc-like Phoenixes. So that's the one instance I don't particularly like about this deck, is you're kind of helping the top best deck out there. But if you sequence your turns correctly and make sure that it is in the graveyard and you activate Go Blank, then yeah, it's for sure a win. So that's kind of how you want to do it against that kind of deck. You have to plan your turn just a bit longer and make sure that you get the lands, which is probably why it had 25 lands, so that you make sure that you do get your you get all the lands in every turn so that you can do all this stuff. So yeah, that is about it. But definitely check this out. This deck is really fun. I went 2 and 3 in the league, so take it as it is. But I want to say it was mostly because I fought against 2 Arc-like decks and I raged pretty dang hard against them. And I'm sorry I didn't post them. I'll try my best to not rage and not just delete the videos for you guys, because the people have been asking for lost videos, and I'm trying, guys. I really am. But yeah, so if you guys like that, and I think that's it for all she wrote for this video, this deck tech. As always, guys, take care of yourself, love one another out there, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.